Oh no, you have to put it on a microSD, on a USB, a USB, USB, put it on the SD, and then you put a little SD chip the full thing. And the SD card is plugged up. I think he's just waiting to make sure no one else arrives.
All right, Greg's in.
Greg here. Ready to start?
Yes, I think we're ready whenever you are.
Okay, great. So, hi everyone. My name is Nick Del Grosso. I'm living in Munich, Germany. I have a background in neuroscience, electrophysiology, and all the similar types of topics that you guys are working on. Right now, I spend most of my time teaching scientists how to program, whether all kinds of life sciences, and sometimes I get to do some programming myself. Most of the time when I started programming, I was alone. Okay, when I was working, my days looked like this, my nights looked like this, my mornings looked like this, and who here, when they imagine like what a programmer is, have in mind like a picture kind of like this in their mind? When you say what's a prototypical programmer, it looks like this, right? They're in the dark, they've got energy drinks and like scattered all over the place, and they're just generally unhealthy and focused, and I don't know. It's a really stressful way to work, and it's really an inefficient way to work. Modern programmers look more like this. They're working when it's daylight. They're collaborative. They're having more fun. They're discovering things together, working in very similar ways that you guys are working right now as part of Backyard Brains. They're having a lot more fun. These days, most of my work looks more like this. Not only am I working together side by side with a lot of people, of course it's remote days, so we're working side by side to like Zoom sessions and things like this, but we're often sharing the exact same computer doing the exact same thing together. We're just huddled around one computer doing something. And I've been consulting with companies who are transitioning to this. And one of the questions they have is they say, well, isn't that very expensive? You know, why would we have 5 people doing one thing when we could have 5 people doing 5 things? The reality is that it's actually a lot cheaper. It's more efficient. It's a lot more fun when you're working together, because most of the time when you're doing any kind of technology or knowledge type of knowledge work, whether you're doing science, you're doing knowledge work, you're trying to discover new knowledge that hopefully no one in the entire universe knows yet. When you're doing programming, you're doing knowledge work, which means you're trying to solve some kind of technology problem. If you're doing engineering, you're doing knowledge work. If you're just doing office work, you're generally doing the office work. And the thing that touches all knowledge work together is that the easy things, if you already know how to do it, it's very easy to do. You know, once you've learned something, you can just do it. You know, especially if we've got computers together, it takes no time. The hard things, the things you don't know how to do yet, take forever. And you're always Googling things and looking it up and trying to put something together and figure out, why is this not working? What's going on? And a lot of the times, when you finally figure it out, you realize you could have, if you just noticed this, or if you just knew this one thing, you wouldn't have been spending all this time struggling. That's what this is all about. When you get a lot of eyes on the same piece, and you get a chance for everyone to share what they're seeing, what they're thinking, you overcome things a lot more consistently, and you move forward a lot faster. And generally, when you go in a direction, it tends to be a good direction rather than some random direction that you went in just because that's like the first place you knew how to go. You know, generally the first approach we take on things isn't the best approach. So, and that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be working. We have 2 projects lined up for today, and we're going to be working together as essentially on 2 machines. We're going to have 2 project leads. All right. These are going to be 2 people who care most about this thing getting done because they need it for their project like right now. And then whatever you find, they're going to have to use it. Those are the people whose machines we're going to use. Hopefully. I mean, if we run into some tech problems, we're going to be flexible, of course. And everyone else on the team is going to be part of their support system, trying to help them get this thing done. Okay, and we're gonna practice working this way. Now, if you've ever been a part of, like, who's here done a group project for like at least school before? Who here loved doing group work? They thought like group projects were the best. Everything went well. No one ever likes group work, right? Why not? Sophia, why don't you like group work?
I think sometimes people are just on different pages, so the collaboration kind of, there's just a disconnect between everybody's idea.
Yeah, people are on completely different pages. They're not really communicating together because their heads are in completely different places. Like Martians and Venetians, they're just different species almost. Sure, yeah. Which is weird because you're in the same class together. You have very similar backgrounds. You got the same assignment. You have the same deadline, but you still feel like you're alien to each other. What else? What's another reason? Freddie, what's one reason that you don't like group work?
Well, in my case, most of the work I do is design, right? So I guess what I don't like about that is that we tend to compete, right? In terms of like which person's design works better for the task. And that's sort of subjective, really. Kind of self-expression. That's one of the aspects.
Absolutely. And now some people like competition. I mean, sports. People love competition, right? So why don't you like competition when you're collaborating in a group project?
Oh, that was a question?
Yeah.
Well, because in my case, it depends on the way you like to approach things. And, sometimes some ideas, like, I don't know, sometimes it seems that your idea would be better fitted for a certain problem, but, it's hard for people to see things the way you do.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all kinds of problems with competition. There's credit. Whatever the final thing is, it's probably going to be mostly one of you that did it, right? If you're all kind of trying to do the best and you just keep whoever the best was. There's this feeling that maybe your energy, your ideas, your work might not go into the final project, so it may feel like a waste of time or a potential waste of time. If you do pick the best one, if you are the one that did the best one, you also feel like there's some unfairness. Why didn't the other people do a better job? Right? That's no good. You don't want to be in that kind of environment when you're trying to collaborate. And let's do one more. Sarah, what's one reason that you don't like group work?
I mean, in terms of the elephant in the room, sometimes people just don't do the work, especially over Zoom. It can be hard to follow up with people, and that unreliability can sometimes play a factor,
Yeah, it's just, you're like, oh my God, this person, I have to collaborate with them, and they're doing nothing. They just don't care. Who here feels like they tend to do most of the work when they're in the project? Is that very likely? But that's the thing. Most people do feel like they are doing most of the work most of the time in the groups that they work in. Now, we have some selection bias. We have some very talented, intelligent people here that we're together with. We filtered out some of the other people. But if you were to work together in a group, you would also likely end up feeling like like maybe the others weren't pitching in as much as you'd like. Right? With knowledge work, though, the amount of effort that you put into something doesn't usually translate to the amount of value that comes out. Oftentimes, one person who stumbles into the office or into the classroom and looks at their computer screen and goes, "Oh, you're trying to solve that problem. Yeah, I solved that last week. Just type this." And they type 2 lines in the computer and they save you a week of work. Who here's ever experienced that? Someone just walks in, or maybe you're the person that walked in and you just did like a tiny little thing and you basically saved the project. Anyone been here in that situation? I'm a programming teacher, so I'm always in that situation, right? You want to be in a position where everyone can contribute, but no one feels bad for for the position. Everyone should be on the same side. Everyone should be kind of pulling together and not really competing internally with each other. At the same time, when someone does have an idea, they should be present to provide it. They should have an opportunity to speak their mind. They should have someone else to listen and understand. There's like all kinds of things that make collaboration really difficult. This doubles for programming, right? Where oftentimes you're working with technologies you never used, languages you never used, on tasks you never used, with people you never met. Like, it's just, everything can be potentially foreign. So the software crafter world has kind of come up with some kind of gamified versions of collaboration that make it a little bit easier to keep everyone on the same page, not feel like you're competing with each other, not be talking over each other and be rude to each other, and just kind of get an opportunity for everyone to collaborate. That's what we're practicing today, okay? And they call it mob programming, okay? A lot of times mob programming remotely looks like this. Everyone's staring at one screen. Maybe it's one person screen. Today we're gonna be doing it as one person screen. We're gonna be using Zoom to do this. And they're all just working on that one. They're not looking off on somewhere else or doing something else. They're all working together, building the program that they need on that one machine, all right? But, you know, if you've ever sat with someone to try to like work on something, you know that if you're not the person that's actually touching things, actually clicking things, actually typing things, it gets boring really fast. You know, you sit back, maybe you're learning at first, you're like, oh yeah, this is great. And then something happens or you get distracted and then you look back and you're like, oh wait, what's going on? No, keep going. I'll catch up. And then after a little while, you just start tuning out. That's no good, right? That prevents us from having those moments where we can contribute something, right? So we need to prevent that from happening. Well, what we do, so we have some goals, things that we want. We've kind of talked about that. In pair and mob programming, there's a core rule, a core practice that keeps everyone together, okay? Called the two minds rule. The rule is simply, anything that goes into the computer has to go through two brains before it gets there, okay? If one person says, oh, I know what we should do, if they reach for the screen and they control their mouse and they start typing code, they break the rule. Instead, what they have to do is find a way to get their intention through someone else's brain. We're neuroscientists, right? We know about the brain. Can anyone tell me an approach for how we could get our motor intention through someone else's brain so it can go into the computer? Samuel, you got any ideas? How could we do this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how level you want to get here, because the two things that come to mind. One is words, and then in the future it's just CGI, actually. But, no, just confirmation.
Yeah, get confirmation from them. Absolutely. Say, hey, this is what I'd like to do. Does this make sense to you? Right? If they go, yeah, what does that mean? Does that mean it makes sense to two people? Hopefully. I mean, I'm saying, hey, does that make sense? And everyone's nodding along. Does that mean it really makes sense to everyone? Does everyone really learn whenever they say yes? No, probably not, right? You can't be sure. It's a good start though, right? You've at least expressed the intention. Now, in the future, especially as backyard brains becomes more and more technologically advanced, you might connect the EEG electrodes to someone else's brain, put the intention into their mind, and then control their hands directly. We're not there yet. Greg, do you have any ideas? What could we do in order to
just make
confirm that
so
our intention went into
you
brains?
explain it to the person, and the other person types it into the computer.
That's it. That's exactly it. If you explain to someone else and then they do it, if what you're seeing is like, and you're like, yeah, that's what I wanted, then it went through two brains. Everyone's on the same page. Now, if you're working in a big group, what you could do is ask someone to ask someone else and ask someone else, but this gets to be a little bit ridiculous, right? And intentions get lost along the way. So what you do when you're using in a bigger group is you separate out who's kind of, I mean, you don't want people talking and suggesting all over each other, right? We need a way of controlling communication flow and give people space to think and suggest and kind of move things forward a little bit. What we end up doing is we have three main roles that everyone's kind of in at a given time. The first role is called the navigator. This is the person who's currently they're kind of in charge. They're the main person that's deciding what's going to happen next. All right, they're saying, hey, I'm really interested in trying this out. Hey, could we look up this? They're also the person who gets the most priority when it comes to asking questions. They're like, hey, I'm not really sure what's going on here. Can we get on the same page? Okay. The navigator ends up becoming the communication focal point. Someone's got to do the typing. The typist, also called the driver, often is the person that does the typing. Is there a question? Okay. So in pair programming, you only have these two roles. One person is suggesting, the other person is doing the typing. If you're the typist, you're the only person that gets to touch the computer. No one else gets to touch it. It's yours. Okay? They can't move the mouse. They can't type in a little bit of code. In practice, sometimes you have trouble like finding like a symbol on the keyboard. Sometimes there's a little bit of collaboration there, but generally, they're the person that's making sure that it's gone through multiple brains before it got to you. This is not an easy job. Sometimes it is. Sometimes saying, hey, could you just type this? Could you click on this? But oftentimes your job is, because you're an active, thinking, interested human being, the hard part of being a typist is resisting the urge to go forward without everybody. You're trying to sit back and make sure that you're not surprising anyone when you do an action on the computer. You're also trying to resist the urge to move fast. There's tons and tons of information on the screen. Oftentimes the information to solve the problem that we're facing is already on the screen. And if you have a typist that's clicking all over the place and moving things around, no one's going to be able to keep up. They're going to be waiting for someone else to direct it. That way they know what's going on. And finally, you have everyone else. They're called the ensemble or the mob. These people are sitting back, listening, thinking, and when they have a suggestion, sometimes raising their hand or saying, hey, could I suggest something? This job is also very difficult. This job involves being patient. This job involves sometimes doing some extra research, looking some things up, but mostly the job involves processing what the navigator is trying to do, okay? Sometimes, and what we're going to find is that sometimes the navigator is going to go in a direction and someone else is going to disagree. You're going to say, oh, that's no good. I wouldn't do it like that. I would do it like this. This is where the mob has to practice consideration and respect the most. They have to say, you know what? Let's try it out. I've never done it that way. Let's see how that goes. All right. All these three roles involve a lot of listening, a lot of patience, and a lot of discussion. Does that make sense? When they're all working together, they do well. So, who here would like to be, when they're in their groups, would like to be the navigator? Who feels like they'd be a good leader for the team? Sam? Yeah. Anyone else? All right, great. So Sam, you're going to be the boss basically for the rest of the day. Who here likes to be the typist? Who here likes typing things? Freddie? Sophia? Okay, you two, you're the only two people that get to program. No one else gets to program. Who here likes to listen and not really be involved very much? So.
Oh, by the way, Noor, we only have one. Are we doing multiple tasks right now, or just do we need one navigator for the entire group?
Well, only one. You can only have one navigator. You can only have one person peek. Yeah, there can only be one boss.
Yeah, I didn't know because there was a discussion of multiple tasks. If there would be different.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're gonna have multiple mobs happening at the same time in breakout rooms, and each of them will have a navigator.
Have someone waiting to get into the meeting. His name is Tim. He's waiting to be let in.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's good.
But here's the thing. Whoa. Okay, there we go.
Yes, everybody. Turn your volume down.
You're muted.
We all have, always have.
Sorry.
Okay. Hello? Yeah, okay, we're good. When I was trying to identify someone as being a certain person, did that seem kind of weird and wrong? Did that kind of itch you a little bit? You're like, ooh. But I do like contributing ideas sometimes. I do like exploring things. I do like working with computers. I'm here because I like doing things, and I know that when I put my hands on the keyboard, I'm learning more actively. And I also don't want to have pressure on me all the time. I want to be able to sit back and learn from other people in the group. It doesn't make sense to have one person be one role, all right? If you're ever in a company or in a group or a lab that only does that, they say, oh, no, only this person's allowed to touch this because they're the best at this, and this person does this, then your team's not going to be working very well. No one's going to be providing all the different ideas that all the people in a diverse group can provide. So what do? Well, we rotate between these roles constantly, okay? And to keep things kind of moving smoothly, we use a timer to do this. So these days, programs are using timers. Put a timer up, they can see who's the current navigator, who's the current driver, everyone else is in the mob. And when the time runs out, you rotate. Doesn't matter what you're doing at that time. Doesn't matter if you got anything done. You say, okay, that's our 5 minutes. Next navigator. Now, hopefully the next navigator says, okay, yeah, let's pick that up. But maybe if they were not sure what's going on, they might go, hey, actually, can we clarify a few things? I have a few questions. That way everyone stays together, all right? It'll when you're working as a mob, things move a little bit slowly, but they always move forward. You're always moving in a direction that no one person would have picked, but as a whole is a good direction. Okay, so that's the kind of approach that we're gonna be using. So you don't have to worry. There's not gonna be one, you're not gonna be one navigator, one driver, thoughtful observers. And the navigator isn't the boss. They're not the best person at the thing. They're not the most knowledgeable thing. They're just the person that's getting priority for speaking. Okay, that's all. All right. They also play the role in this way as traffic cop. The driver has a potential problem. A lot of people may be giving them suggestions. Hey, do this, click on this, go here, type this. That can be overwhelming. When you're the driver, your job is only to listen to the navigator. If 3 people give the navigator a suggestion, the navigator decides, yeah, let's do option 2. Let's try that out. Driver, could you do this? Okay. That way, it's not overwhelming. All right, does that make sense? Okay. Now, I've kind of presented things as being kind of hunky-dory, but working as a team is difficult, especially as a new team. And every time you have a new member or a new task, you're essentially a new team. So it's very common for teams to go through certain stages of development, and we're going to see a few of those today. And I'm going to kind of describe them to you here because I want you to be aware that they'll exist. So that way, when you start seeing it, you don't get frustrated or bored or something. You're able to say, we're in that stage now. Okay, that's what's happening right now. This is okay. This is normal, and we know how to go on to the next one. What can we do to move on to the next stage? All right. And I think I've spent over 400 hours now in different mobs, and I don't know, over 100 mobs. Some for very short times, some for extended times. They always go through these same stages. It all comes out of this Tuckman model. The first stage that groups form is they call the forming stage, okay? This is when everyone's trying to figure out what the heck's going on. You know, what are we supposed to do? How are we really working together? How does this technology work? Who's good at what? Who do I like most? Who do I feel like how does this person think? How do they think? Who am I going to be able to work with? You know, it takes a little while to kind of orient a bit. Does that make sense? You guys know each other pretty well, but when you're forming in this team, you're going to get to know each other a little bit better, and at least in a different way. At some point, the team starts going, okay, they'll grab on something. They'll say, oh, okay, we have something that we want to do. And then they'll start moving out of that stage and moving to the next one. Things will start looking pretty good. You start making progress. You'll be like, okay, yeah, we're going forward. And then someone else will go, you know, we shouldn't be doing this. We should be doing something else. Or, hey, why are they doing this? And then you get these little, you know, those little thoughts that sometimes happen in a team where like, oh, wait, no, this isn't right. This isn't comfortable for me. I'm not sure. Can we adjust a little bit? This happens when you start getting to know each other better. You realize that the first formation of the team wasn't the ideal one, that there's some other adjustments that you'd like to make. Sometimes this is called the storming stage. And it can be frustrating a little bit when you're in there, okay? This can go on for a while. And this is what kills teams. The longer you spend this stage where everyone's just kind of uncomfortable, not sure how to work, it can end things. Now, some storming is good, okay? Some question, you know, if you can't question authority or the way things are, you're not, you know, we're never gonna improve. But you always wanna move forward after that. The solution to that is usually, when it comes to programming or technology, is to just move in smaller steps. To say, okay, what can we agree on? All right, what's an easy thing for us to do right now? And do that. Before long, you'll kind of get out of that rhythm more and more often. You get to a stage that you call norming. Everyone's kind of figuring out who's doing what. Like things are starting to gel, and you're starting to feel really good. Now we're probably not going to see this next stage today, but there is a stage beyond that where the rules that I've given of mob programming start to seem very silly because your guys are working so well together. You're not even thinking about who's driver, who's what. You're finishing each other's sentences. Everything's awesome. You know, you're like in the hive mind. You're doing groupthink. Actually, groupthink is a bad thing. You know, but you just feel like you're clicking. You're really in what's called this performing stage. Probably not going to get there today. But if you were to do this regularly over a period of a week, you would. And I've seen several groups do this, and it's awesome. Like people are just like hyped to be working together, you know? But then what happens? Well, you get a new task, a new person joins the group and everyone's like, oh, and then you need to form again, okay? Teams are always free forming, going through these stages over and over again. So, got some general tips here. What I want to do today is help assist you a little bit in the forming stage, okay? And start on some projects, okay? I'm also new to this group, and I want to know a little bit more about you guys. I want to know about who's interested in what, and I want to know a little bit about the projects that we're gonna do. Once we have an idea of who's kind of up for what, I'm gonna make some breakout rooms, and then I'm gonna link you to a Miro board I've prepared, where you'll start to discuss a little bit what this project means to you as a team. What do you think this is about? What are you trying to accomplish? Just so that so everyone's getting on the same page before you actually start. Once we're there, we'll move to starting a computer, and we'll get a mob timer, and we'll start actually mob programming together. Sound okay? All right. E.T., could you tell us a little bit about the projects that we have lined up today?
Yes, we set up in the itinerary proposals that everyone could set, and right now we have 3 proposals. So we have the EEG evoked potential. We have 2 interested persons. We have generating time frequency images from, let's say, EXG data. We have 4 people interested in that. And we have splitting the Spiker box events into Edge Impulse. And this is the most liked proposal by 6 people. And
6 people like this.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. All right. But let me get this. Let me get this board up for us. So this is a good thing, right? We have projects lined up, but we don't necessarily know who's going to do what yet, right? And we wouldn't have. So what I've learned from doing this is that small teams, there are some trade-offs when you have small teams and large teams. Small teams tend to be able to communicate very rapidly. They form really rapidly. You know, it's really easy to work side by side with one other person. In fact, there's a huge difference between working alone and working with just one other person. It's so big a difference. It's worth like never working alone, you know, except for when you just need some space, you know. But bigger teams tend to solve problems easier. They've got a momentum to them. They take a while to get started, but they just start knocking things over one at a time as they get going. For the amount of time we have today, to make sure that we have a chance to really get to that norming stage, a team size of about 3 or 4 is going to be good. 5 is going to be a little bit on the large side. 2 is going to be a little bit on the small side. So we're going to try to aim for something around that. But we're going to make sure that everyone's interested in whatever we're doing. Okay. If that means we have 3 projects or 2 projects or whatever projects, it's all fine. All right. Let's get a sense of what kind of how we're all feeling today. Okay. The goal here is going to be able to learn to get over some hurdles that are facing us in our current projects. Right. There's stuff we know we want to do. We're not sure exactly how to go about it yet. So hopefully today, a few of those hurdles are completely gone and you're able to move forward in your projects. Okay. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to share a link to this Miro board. Anyone on with this link can edit it, which is fine. I'm going to put this in the Zoom chat. Oops. We'll put a link to the Zoom chat whenever this thing starts working. Okay, so you should see it in the Zoom chat now. And when you come in, we've got 3 ideas here. But if you came in, you're like, oh wait, no, I didn't. I really want to do this other thing. I said it, but I said I want to do something similar, but it wasn't quite explained like the right way. Go ahead and put the project name in one of these boxes. Okay. I'd like before we move forward, what I want you to do, I want to have some boxes with projects in them, and I want to have clear project owners for them. If 2 different people really want to do the same thing and they're like, no, this is like, it's special for me, even if they have very similar projects but they're different owners, it may be worth having them be split. Let's get a sense of who's really cares about what. Okay. And I'm going to set up a timer for just 5 minutes so we can fill out this project board and get started. Okay.
Should we wait for the timer to start?
It started already.
Oh, okay.
The timer has started. Time is ticking. Okay. Oh, and I'll be right back.
Do you like the mob as well, or just the owner?
Probably just,
Okay.
but it might be good to write down the name. Oh. Okay, you never.
You don't want to pick a
Oh, nothing. We were doing the same thing.
I think we won. Okay.
In the yellow.
Oh yeah, project 3.
Yeah.
Project 3.
So it's you only have 3 people who look at projects and people buy projects for 1, 2, 3. You can just delete those. I can just delete my info. We can be sure. I think so. Are we putting our names down? No,
All right. We're halfway through the timer. If you feel like this, it's not being explained very well, or you haven't contributed to the project, but you think you have an idea of what this is, what I'd like you to do is click on the pen tool, and inside the box or a portion of the box, draw a picture or a diagram that you think best well represents it. If you alternatively, if you have a screenshot of something or there's an image online that you think is really good, go ahead and grab that and copy paste it into the box. We can get a nice little collage of these projects, because these are going to be used to advertise to other people what you want to do. We're going to see which ones have the most interest.
Sam, which one are you? Bottom right. What's the difference between? Oh, you want for plotting? I'm going to find it. Drawing together? I don't know.
Oh no, the time's ticking down.
I think someone just pasted that. Oh yeah, I was just copying and pasting the names and all that.
Whoa, that is a huge plot.
Now I have everything from the document here plus other stuff. I mean, project 3 got single word. It was great.
Thank you. I don't know, you can delete any of that.
Yeah, and then we have an for neural network there. Big brain. Oh no, I'm trying to read that. Oh, that is not an N. That's not good. Yeah, this is nightmare.
What is this arrow person?
And dimples. Oh. And then neural networks, because that's like the goal.
I think we could use a little more time. I'm going to add another minute to the timer.
The drawing alone is who wrote down EEG classification of sleep state? Maybe, yeah.
Keep in mind, these are projects we want to do today, you know? So if you're tempted to describe your entire project, the thing you're trying to accomplish this summer, it's going to be a little bit much. What do you want your team to do just today? Something that you feel like is preventing you from moving forward, or you think that would just be really cool and you might try out.
We want to be able to make it readable data. And also process it into smaller segments. Eventually the timing will not be great. Especially if it's continuous, like we want to be able to split up our continuous. There's like pre-processing and stuff as well.
All right, that's the time. Let's so before we move on to the next stage, let's learn more about what's going on. Each of these projects has an owner. Oh, there's more. I see more stuff appearing. Okay, so I'm going to move everyone to my view. Okay, if you could stop editing, that would be great. I'm going to bring everyone to me in 3, 2, 1. All right, let's learn a little bit more about these projects. Every one of these has an owner. I'd like the owner to, just in a few sentences, kind of tell us more about what this thing is. All right, let's start with project 1. Noor, can you tell us what is EEG evoked potentials? What does that mean as far as what you'd like to do today?
So today I want to practice more on how to detect specific forms of event-related potentials. In my case, it's either the P300 or the steady-state visually evoked potentials using machine learning. And part of that involves isolating them and detecting them using a certain methodology, probably via signal processing, especially because it heavily relies on some frequency components in the case of the SSVP. And I'm hoping that today I learn how to use the different libraries in Python to be able to accomplish this and to start building a model basically to be able to detect them.
Awesome. What about Tim? Can you tell us about EEG classification of sleep states?
And for 4 years, we've been chasing the dragon and trying to classify the 3 stages of sleep in our frontal cortex EEG. This is hand sorting 90 minutes or 8 hours of data. Hard. So if we could still double it, do it manually, do it with some sort of neural network classification scheme that avoids the fatigue of doing it manually.
Awesome. Well, and what do you want to do today in order to help you move forward in that goal?
Just learn a little bit about how to do this perhaps in Python. This is a big, people have been trying to do this for 40 years, so I think it's going to fall today, but just learn the tools that have to be able to try to.
Very cool. Freddie, can you tell us a little bit more about data visualization? What does that mean for today?
Today, I guess it just means, visualizing data set, any data set. Learning how to use libraries to produce some figures that we can use for our presentations or for our final papers. That would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I don't have an owner here. MEG, EEG analysis with M&E Python.
Oh, me as well. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool library called M&E Python. I've used it before to do EEG data analysis. I was wondering if we could use that for ENG too, but I don't know how useful it will be for the rest of the process. So that's why it was for the last minute edition.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Ariana, can you tell us about generating time frequency images from EEG, EMG, EXG data?
Yes, so this was the second most popular proposal in the itinerary, and I thought it'd be useful because knowing the frequency of data, here we're using Spikebox data would be very useful in knowing patterns in your data and classifying it. And I have never made time frequency images, so it'd be interesting, and I think it helps several people. I think Sam and I emailed Etienne some data that could be used for it, as well as the next project, this will be project 3, so we would have somewhere to start with that.
Awesome. All right, Sophia, can you tell us about splitting Spikerbox events into edge impulse? What does that mean in terms of what you'd like to do today?
So we're going to take raw data that the Spikerbox gives us and then use Python to turn it into something that Edge Impulse can read, and then train a neural network on that. Right? Yeah.
Very cool. And finally, GUI for plotting .wav file data from a Spikerbox. Sam.
Yeah, so this is just the possibility of building something like a graphic user interface for the .wav files are the files that come out of these Spikerboxes, as Nick just mentioned. And one of the things that would be nice about this is for all of our data, we're going to have annotations of some kind or another, and we're going to need to analyze data around those annotations. But if you have to scroll through whole data sets, it's kind of tough. And then not only would it be nice to be able to plot those with some sort of really intuitive way of selecting and deselecting those portions of the data, I think it'd also be nice to do something like that, sort of way of averaging those together and for all these things, to do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so all of these different projects are going to involve learning some new skills, both applied and also conceptual. No matter which project we're working on, we're going to grow, and we're going to learn, and we're going to be able to move forward in our own projects, right? To be able to work together as a team, though, we're going to need to be able to pull forward in a common goal and work on a common task. That means that today we're going to have to prioritize some of these over others. Which one are we going to pick? I'm going to choose. No, I'm not going to choose. We're going to choose as a group. Okay. On the right, there are 3 dots. There are dots here. We're going to use what's called a dot voting system. Every person will get 3 votes. We're going to go in the honor system. You know, if you pick 4 or 5, no one's really going to be able to see, but please, you know, please stick to the honor system. What I'd like you to do is drag those three dots, doesn't matter which ones, into the squares, the ones you're most interested in working on today. That doesn't mean that they're most important or they're the best. They're just something that makes you go, yeah, you know what, this would be really great. If you really care about one of them over the other, you could vote for the same one twice, and that's absolutely fine as well. Okay, and we'll get a sense of where things start to cluster, and we'll be able to start breaking into rooms based on this. Okay, and I'm going to make a timer, and I'm going to give us 2 minutes to do that voting. And if we need more dots, I can always make more dots. As the votes are going, and if you start to notice that, hey, this thing no one else is interested in, and you feel like you're wasting a vote, go ahead and move that vote to something else. That's completely fine. You're always free to change your mind. All right, I'm not seeing much more movement, so maybe I can stop the timer. Okay. So, and then here's what I'm starting to see. We've got, I'm going to just draw with my pen here. What have we got here? We've got, it looks like 5 here, 2 here, 5, 1, 6, and 8. So we're pretty, we're pretty split along a bunch of these, but it looks like we've got a lot of interest in splitting Spikerbox. We've got a lot of interest in making GUIs. And this seems pretty similar to the general interest levels we got out of the file before. So that's great. We've also got a lot of interest in EEG classification of sleep states and generating time frequency images EEG data. Those 2 projects seem to me fairly similar. Tim, Ariana, do those two projects have things that you would say are in common? That if we were to merge those into one project, you would feel like they were like you might get something valuable out of it, even if it weren't the others?
Tim? Would use time frequency images.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
So we would use project 2 to better understand the sleep state. Yeah.
Excellent. So we've got three main ones then. And what I'm going to do here is basically make one big box out of this one, a little one out of this one, and another one here. Okay. Why am I drawing this? We don't need to do this. We're smart people. We can look at this. At this point, I'm going to make breakout rooms. I'm going to name them off after those 3. What's probably going to happen is that we'll get a lot of people in one, very little people in a third one, and something in the middle for the other one. If we have a lot of people in one group and almost no one in a third one, we'll probably adjust a little bit just to get some balance out. So it might be that we split one project and make it have 2 groups working on one project. If everyone just jumps to one, it's completely fine. If you're interested in doing something today, that's totally fine. Maybe you'll switch a little bit. We'll just kind of iron things out a little bit. Once you're in your group, what I'd like you to, what your group's going to be doing is, and we might need a third, oops, you don't need to see that for now, is just talking a little bit and getting on the same page. What exactly do we want to get out of this? Okay, what are the pieces that we think are made up of this project? Most tech projects can be broken down into smaller pieces. Most engineering challenges tend to be that way as well. There might be some core thing that we're focused on, but sometimes we can break it down into smaller ones. The smaller we can break it down, the more likely we are to be able to, solve the most of them. Okay, and it'll help us focus on the things that we really care about and not on the things that we don't. Okay, so what's going to happen is when you go into your room, just start chatting. Depending on which project you're in, you'll focus on one of these boards. And what I want you to do is start brainstorming, making stickies that relate to that project, and start kind of just getting an idea of what's out there. If you want to sketch something or explain something to someone or make a diagram or something, you got a sketching whiteboard area for that. Okay, we'll take a little bit of time for that, and then we're going to start breaking them down and deciding what exactly we're going to do today. Does that make sense? That'll give you time. Now that means that's time not spent working on the thing, but it's time that you'll let your team form, get on the same page, and have an idea of what exactly you want to do. You're going to say you'll move forward a lot better, and you'll be a lot better team for it. Does that make sense?
Breakout group will be assigned to one of these boxes that's got some sticky notes and a whiteboard.
Exactly. Breakout. So this top one's going to be breakout room. Let me type the names here. We're going to have room 1. That's going to be the top row, and that's going to be our EEG analysis type group. What's it called? Evoke potentials, time frequency. So our electrophysiology analysis group. We're going to have another room that is, I'm sorry, I can't show you this. Zoom blocks it. It's going to be called the Spiker Box to Edge Impulse group. They're going to do the bottom row, and right now I'm going to create a third row of this, just in case we have a big group of that. That is going to work on. That's going to be in the bottom row, and they are, what do we call them? They're the gooey people. They're very gooey. They're kind of not solid. Okay. I'm going to open up the rooms, and you're going to have the ability to choose which room you're interested in, and you'll be able to move back and forth between them. That doesn't mean that I want everyone to be moving all the time or to abandon people that you're helping out. But that will give us the opportunity for, if you feel like, man, something is really not clicking, you can use what's called the law of 2 feet. We've just talked about the law of 2 minds, right? If it goes to the computer, it goes through 2 minds. But a lot of groups follow what's called the law of 2 feet as well. That is, if you don't feel like you're learning something today, or you don't feel like you're contributing something today, you can use your 2 feet and go somewhere where you are. Okay, so that way you're going to find people that you're gelling with. Okay, but we want to find projects where we're giving each other a good chance. All right, it's going to take time for us to form, and we want to be patient with each other. Sam.
I don't see the titles on these blocks. Should I be saying that?
Yeah. So the room names have numbers on them. You'll see it in just a second. Let me make sure that they don't close automatically. And yeah, I think that's going to work pretty well. I'm going to open up the rooms. I'm going to open the rooms for 15 minutes. Okay, that's gonna be enough time for you guys to get to know each other and start filling this thing out. I want you to really just throw things on there. Okay, don't start pruning quite yet. We're gonna be doing a lot of pruning down the road. If I'm gonna keep an eye on the different rooms. Once I feel like the discussion's starting to fade out, I'll close the rooms up. We'll share what we learned, and we'll move on to the next piece. Okay. Then opening the rooms now. There's a breakout rooms button in your Zoom controls. And when you click it, you'll be able to see the different rooms and move yourself there. If you're having trouble finding it or you can't find it, just let me know and I can move you to wherever you like to go as well.
So yeah, we're all gonna be in the same room.
If I can go upstairs into the state, my name's usually like the very top.
Well, I think we'll just figure out when people go into the room.
Some people are waiting to see who goes where. They're like, okay, I gotta strategize a bit. My crush is in this room. I want to make sure I'm in the same place.
I'm gonna go get headphones.
Can you not delay it?
Oh, I got a selected one.
No, you gotta, it's very finicky.
Oh, yeah. Okay, my audio is, I'm really.
It's not letting me.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay, you might want to.
Sophia, where would you like to go?
I looked at the blue one.
Crazy because we're all in the same room.
Which one? The gooey one?
Roughly.
Can you say it one more time?
The GUI, the GUI room.
Excellent. Okay. And I've got Greg here and